All right, so Devoted Blade here. The Devoted in this deck refers to Devoted Druid here. For those not super familiar with Modern, Devoted Druid has put a 1/1 minus counter on it, untap it. So Devoted Druid alongside Vizier of Remedies here, which says your creatures don't get 1/1 counters. These two cards together allow you to generate infinite green mana. And then infinite green mana, we kill our opponent in a couple different ways. The first with this card, Walking Ballista here, which you can pay XX into and get X counters on it, so you can just deal a bunch of damage. You can also cast a very large Finale of Devastation to give all your creatures +X in addition to fetching one out of your deck. Viridian Longbow here is also a payoff with Devoted Druid because it allows the creature to tap to deal a damage to something. So you can put Viridian Longbow on this and then deal a damage, untap it, deal a damage, untap it. One of the things Stoneforge Mystic does for this deck in the fair matchup is that this deck is a deck where you demand removal spells for your keycard Devoted Druid here, and Stoneforge Mystic and Giver of Runes and cards like these are cards that demand an answer. So the plan here is basically to overload your opponent's removal spells by playing a variety of must-answer threats in the matchups where your opponents are going to be answering your things. So let's go ahead and dive on into some matches here and see how this goes. There's been a push to add Thoughtseize to the main deck of this archetype. Why? To give you my thoughts, I need to know why people are doing it. What problem does this deck have, and how is that problem being solved by adding Thoughtseize to the deck? What are you cutting, and why are you cutting that card for Thoughtseize? Like, looking at this deck, it seems like every tool pretty much has a purpose. So I would ask, what are you cutting and why that's the cut? Hey, Punk Count, thanks for the 40 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, a lot of these decks have, so you mentioned it's a third color. A lot of the builds of this archetype actually have a third color splashed in, whether it's like Deputy of Detention or Engineered, Plague Engineer or stuff like that. Yeah, having more strict turn 1 requirements is definitely tough. Yeah, I'm gonna play Bird on 1. Why not? Are you a Goblin Guide deck or a Valakut deck? Could just be Jund deck. Basic Forest. Are you a Blood Moon deck? Like walking through what the Wooded Foothills. Okay, you're just a Valakut deck, sure. So we get to go Giver. Then we can end step, call for a Druid. Hopefully this isn't going to be a game where our opponent kills us on their turn 4 before we kill them on our turn 4, because we're currently getting set up for turn 4 lethal here. Isn't Noble Hierarch strictly better than Bird in this deck? Instead of me telling you you're wrong, tell me why you're right. And then also take the term strictly better and eliminate it from your Magic vocabulary. Because it is very, very rare that cards are strictly better. So again, Fish Lamb Clock, I'm not asking you for the text on the card. When I ask you what a card does, I obviously know what the text box on the card is. When I say, what does this card do for us? I'm asking you in the context of the deck that we're playing, what's a regular problem that the archetype has, and how is that problem addressed by making the change that you're suggesting? I'm not just asking you to tell me the text on the card. All right, so this is getting another counter on it. If they play a land, it puts them up to 5, and this goes 6, 7. We could die next turn. Cast Shalai. How would I cast Shalai? That's not a legal play I can make. They weren't actually dead here, right? Because I'm short a 3rd white source. Yeah, I actually couldn't cast this. Deal. Forge-Tender seems fine. I feel like I'm just supposed to cut this package. Like all of these seem questionable. But at the same time, I don't really have more cards in my sideboard to bring in here, right? So like maybe I just leave some Stoneforges in. Like Knight of Autumn's not even that good. It's probably better than Stoneforge. I'm going to leave 2 Stoneforge and a Sword of Fire and Ice in. Stoneforge. I guess Stoneforge is technically searches for a payoff, huh? Maybe I don't leave the Sword, I just leave like 3 Stoneforges in as a way to get to the bow, since Stoneforge is technically a combo piece. Yeah, that's probably fine, actually. Yeah, I'm actually going to leave all 4 in, since it's a combo piece. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I don't need Batterskull or Sword, because we're not grinding with Stoneforge Mystic ever in this matchup. But just utilizing it as a, hey, go get the Viridian bow seems fine. Yeah, you were missing the fact that I had to cast another white card to get infinite mana, Burning Piggy. So I couldn't cast Vizier and cast Shalai that turn. I needed 2 more white mana. Yeah, we get to untap the Druid over and over. This hand is not particularly good, but I'm going to keep it at 6, I think. Maybe I'm supposed to go lower, just digging for a turn 3. Yeah, maybe this keeps bad. This deck probably goldfishes on 5 cards enough that I could go lower here. Yeah, thinking about it more, I should have mulliganed again. Yeah, so I couldn't cast Shalai or cast Vizier. I couldn't do both. Was my point. I guess this hand technically has 2 combo pieces, huh? Even if the Devoted Druid's slow. So, like, we have Call for Druid, play Druid on 3, and then Stoneforge Mystics and Infinite Mana payoff. And you get, like, Sweltering Suns here. Anger. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, Pilla-Palla and Architect aren't good Magic cards. So, the big part about what makes Devoted Druid and this one much better is the fact that the types of decks that they're playable in tend to have other much better cards in them, and individually, like, 2 mana cards are much better than, like, the 2 cards you just referenced there. It's like on an individual power level, these cards are much better. Like this just being a mana dork is often relevant a lot of the time. Bow was not a particularly good draw there. Yeah, tokens was a dumpster fire, Brave Earth. Why not start with Stoneforge for boots? Because I'd like to be able to draw Vizier and kill them next turn. Or Finale. If I lead on Stoneforge, I can't kill them on turn 4. And there's a good chance I die on their turn 5. See? Like this. So now they're dead if they don't have a lightning bolt. So this is why I did it this way. Because now they've died. Holy crap, we got a match win, chat. Holy crap, we got a match win. This deck doesn't usually generate match wins for me. Very nice, very nice. I'm not convinced that this is a card worth playing. I feel like a lot of the time where this card's actually going to help you is going to get far outweighed by the number of times where it just, like, does nothing when you draw it. This archetype's very reasonable. And this archetype is only going to get more reasonable when we get Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time is going to let this archetype cut a bunch of lands, which is sweet. Speaking of lands, I'm not quite sure, why is there a Dryad Arbor in this deck? What does Dryad Arbor do for us? Other than being an awful draw every time you draw it. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this in the dark. Hey, thanks for the 3/4 of a year dumping truck. It's a land that lets you fetch to carry equipment. Okay, that makes sense. Lets your fetch lands carry equipment. That's cute. You could technically Finale for Dryad Arbor. Okay. Alright, sure. I'll give you those two corner cases are probably worth enough to play it. Those both seem like very reasonable things. I think those two together probably add up to being a reasonable reason to have it. Like, either or, probably narrow. Put them together seems fine. Could be persuaded. It's persuading enough to at least say I should try this in my mind. Dredge, yikes. Dredge after casting turn 1 Conflagrate. Mega yikes. I'm not going to play this other bird out because I assume they're about to Conflagrate our board. Yeah, our modern matchups today have been Dredge, Storm, Tron, Valakut, and now Dredge again. Hashtag modern is now slow and fair. Like I said, the people like putting modern forward as this slow fair format now, just like, nah, it's mostly more of the same. Mostly just more of the same. Which, again, that's not a bad thing. That's not a complaint. And again, I do think the format is better in a post-Faithless Looting world But it's just like kind of a statement of fact that Modern's just like a fast, brutal format as always. Oh, Comcast. Well, good to have you here today, J-Beard. You think it's safe to unban Green Sun Zenith? Here's a blisteringly hot take. Unbanning Green Sun Zenith would be safer than printing Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time is a card that will go into more green decks than Green Sun Zenith would go into in Modern. Yep. I'm short white mana again, right? I'm going to be short white mana again. So I can go get Devoted Druid here. And I can put Vizier into play. But then I can't cast Stoneforge Mystic because I'm short of white mana. So I have to hope I live a turn, which might not be possible. We'll see. Nah, I'm not gonna try and punk them and like try and punish them because it's Magic Online. Alright, they dredge Conflagrate, so I'm dead here. I played the Vizier out because anything that was killing Vizier was going to kill me as well. So it actually just didn't matter. Thanks for the 11 months, Billy Zane Jr. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. Hope you're having a good one wherever you are. This seems... I probably don't want Batterskull. Seems good. Maybe I'd rather cut Dryad Arbor than Gavony Township. It's probably the case here. No graveyard hate in our 75, which I think is fine and makes sense to a degree. Like our plan in these matchups is to just race them. Yeah, so Batterskull and Sword of Fire and Ice are cards that are for the fair matchups. And we've just been playing against a bunch of very linear decks so far today, so anything linear, not interactive, your Batterskull and your Sword of Fire and Ice are going to be getting cut. That is a Thrun, because screw Jeskai. Easy mulligan. Can I keep this against Dredge? I think this is probably too slow, right? Like, it needs to draw a land. This is also not great, but let's keep it 5. Johnny Boy, thanks for the 22 months. I appreciate that. Awesome. What games have you been playing? All right. Give reverence. Give reverence. Do 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 do. I am not big into sports. No. No wait on the Vizier. So I can hopefully dodge Conflagrate. He says his opponent flips over Conflagrate. I might, think I'm going to path my own bird here when they Conflagrate my board. Yeah. Yeah, definitely ebb and flow with Magic, as with most things. Hopefully Historic shapes up into being something meaningful. Would be ideal. Maybe I'm just supposed to cycle Horizon Canopy here. Like, give myself the best chance to play Devoted Druid next turn. Can see that. No Narcomoeba, no Bloodghast yet, so that's really good for us. They got 2 Amalgams in the mid now. It's probably safe to assume, Orinel, that you can find folks that don't like me in most Twitch chats. Because anybody who's even remotely a turd, who's been in the Magic community long enough, is like probably gotten timed out on this channel at one point. There's a reason why subs asking for timeouts became a meme. There were a lot of people who for a long time got very genuinely upset that they were getting timed out on this channel. And eventually we'll be in sub-only mode long enough that we'll move past those people. Those folks will move on or be forgotten, but I expect for the foreseeable future you'll find some salty dogs in a lot of places. I think we've died, chat. Yeah. Too many damages. Meme on, right? I expect the meme to live on in eternity. Yeah, I agree, Alp. And like at the end of the day, while like the way I manage things like annoys some people, like there's a reason why I'm probably the most subscribed to Magic personality on Twitch. Something Morrow said in a game design talk at one point really resonated with me and helped me manage people like being annoyed. And that's like, if you're going to create something that someone loves, you're likely also creating something that someone hates, because things that elicit strong emotions tend to elicit strong emotions in both directions. So in general, in terms of being successful at things in life, you're generally better off creating something that some people love rather than creating something that everybody likes. So aim to make something awesome for some people rather than trying to make something lukewarm for everyone. Nah, I'm really not a fan of this archetype, Jet. I am confident in saying that this deck is probably better than the Vaynefier deck, and is probably better than the Saheeli deck that I've been liking too, but just like, the overall play patterns of this archetype I find a little bit lacking. Good to have you here, M-Coat. And there's definitely a degree to which, like, I've certainly become less abrasive the longer that I've been on here. Having Twitch chat not be a bunch of random people screaming obnoxious things at me all the time and timing them out, it helped with my sanity too, but you mellow out as you get older. You realize which things are worth engaging in and which things really aren't. That's the classic Big Lebowski quote was definitely true here for a long time. You're not wrong, Ted, but you're still an asshole. That definitely applied. There's that balance of realizing that you can be correct while not being rude just because you're correct is something that I was very, very bad. I'm still bad at on occasion, right? I'm human, I make mistakes. But I'm less bad about it less often now than I once was. Yeah, I'm 28. Alright, so we've got this Finale of Devastation to search up another Druid here, but like, where are we going after that is like kind of a question. I guess if they don't have another piece of interaction and I get another turn, I can try and kill them again next turn. Hey, Connects, thanks for the 6 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, you kind of realize like which fights are worth fighting, right, Brave Earth? Which idiots are worth engaging with which ones you're not going to reach regardless of how hard you try and should just like not bother. So, if they don't kill us and they don't interact with us, we have the combo kill next turn by making infinite mana and picking back up the Finale of Devastation. But it's incredibly unlikely that our opponent both doesn't kill us and doesn't kill any of our stuff here. So one of those two things is likely to happen. They're either going to have a Temur Battle Rage or have a discard spell or have a removal spell. For people that are suggesting different lines, but why? Why should I do your different line? Why is it worth doing? So 21 months, Frenzied Mage. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. I like it. They even get to like silence me so I can't like path their thing in response in case I have it. This is peak modern right here. The old silence you before I combo kill you. Death Shadow really is a great fair deck in modern. It's like a fair deck that's just like, nah, I'm gonna kill you. It's like a fair deck that has a combo kill inside of it. So the 21 months, Frenzied Mage. Welcome back. So Path is great here. I think I actually want these Knight of Autumns just to kill their Tidehollow Scullers. That's an artifact. And I think this is actually a fair matchup where I don't want Batterskull and Sword of Fire and Ice. Is that crazy? I feel like I don't want these. Hey, welcome back, Coons. Thanks for keeping me around. What do we think of this board plan? Would you do something differently? If so, why would you do it differently? Thanks for the 16-month space age. Yeah, I never feel bad about sharing the notifications. They're great. Happy to have y'all here. Tomorrow, I get something I should plug. I keep forgetting. Tomorrow, I am playing in the Twitch Rivals Standard 2020 tournament that they're having. It's 40 streamers and 5 rounds of Swiss. I think I'm playing green-white tokens. But that'll be happening about 11 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah, I've always done the Twitch Rivals stuff, Jin. It was the fandom tournament that I didn't want to do. Because the fandom people expect you to keep playing when you're like 0-2, which is really stupid. No, I've not played the tokens deck on stream. I haven't played any M2020 on stream. Yeah, I'm still going to play Modern tomorrow morning. I don't have a deck list offhand, no. I can post in the sub-Discord later, maybe. How does Yarok Field seem in future standard? No idea. Haven't tried. Hey, thanks to 8 months, Slinker. Welcome back. Well, we're losing a bunch of lands, Jin. Is the big thing. Also losing Nexus of Fate and Rejuvenator. Rejuvenator is a big deal. You will get to play Once Upon a Time though in the fall, which is sweet. Once we get the new set, you get to play Once Upon a Time. I haven't played much M20 standard, but I've watched some other streamers who are getting ready for Twitch Rivals as well. And it seems like Field of the Dead and the Golos deck is still just going to be a completely rancid set of gameplay patterns. Feels like we're going to be dealing with those cards for a while yet. How does this deck fit Once Upon a Time in your opinion? You cut 2 lands and 2 other spells. Probably mana creatures. My gut would say you cut 2 lands and 2 1-mana dorks. Rotating from keys. I mean, the lands are a pretty big deal rotating from keys. This has basically been my experience playing this deck against any fair deck. We just get, like, mono dumpstered. Like, everything I play dies, and none of my cards are individually powerful enough or generate card advantage. Just feels very helpless. Oh, you lose Mox. Yeah, the whole deck's gone. Tashar's not really a big deal. Mox Amber. Yeah, no Mox means the archetype's dead. It shall live on in Historic, though. Yeah, this deck is an excellent racing deck against other decks that are linear. Because this deck's turn 3 Goldfish potential is very high. But outside of just racing, I feel like this deck comes up pretty short a lot of the time. And I think one of the reasons why this deck doesn't really jive for me personally is that so many people, even if they're not very good, just love playing the Feel Smart Fair decks in Modern, that I really hate playing decks that are just like cold to these Feel Smart decks. Yep. That's true. That's true. Ballista was lethal there. We did have a Ballista for lethal because they dealt 17 to themselves. All right, we're 1 and 2. Let's see if we can run back into the 3-2. Maybe. The problem is that, like, in my experience playing Magic Online, once you have 2 losses, you're more likely to play against interactive decks. Because the good linear decks tend to be winning. The X2 bracket's like the Jund bracket. I did see Drown and Lock. It's an interesting control card. The problem is that it's not going to do much on turn 2 a lot of the time. So while it's powerful from a modal perspective, in terms of it being a 2-mana instance that's not early interaction on turn 2 is a pretty big downside. Seems great. Could be merfolk, could be spirits, could be humans. Humans does play a singleton basic island usually. Smells like fish. We've been dismembered. Hey, look, a single piece of interaction. No longer certain how I can win the game anymore. Interaction makes me sad. Hey, Mithron Erdodu, thank you for the brand new tier 1 sub. I appreciate you taking advantage of that half off September discount. Welcome to Hoaglandia. Thanks for keeping me around. Been playing Scheming Symmetry with Archive Trap in Modern. Was wondering if you play Mill and any thoughts on Mill in Modern. I'd actually encourage you to check out my website and or YouTube channel and click the Videos Modern link there. We played Mill with both of those cards somewhat recently. You can find those there. I think we actually want Sword of Fire and Ice here, huh? Putting that up, we'll get to shoot a bunch of fish here. It was okay. I think Mill has some really cute matchups where it just like dunks on people, which is sweet. Yeah, I think the big thing that like sets this deck apart for me from some of the other creature combo decks that I've played is I feel like this deck in comparison to some of the other creature combo decks that I like to play is it feels like it lacks player agency to a degree. Like my choices tend to be very scripted while playing this deck. Alright, hopefully they don't have a Harbinger. Bird's always been playable in Modern. Yeah, Birds of Paradise is great in Modern. They have a second Lord here. so unfortunate. And again, just like, it feels bad, but I didn't have any options to play around them having a second lord, right? Like it just wasn't an option available to me. Like, I can't make decisions here that are like, all right, this plays around them having another lord. And am I dead? This is 9-13. So I'm not quite dead, but I also can't kill them next turn. So third lord is lethal. Yep. Yikes. Alright, I get to bring in some Path to Exiles, and Tireless Tracker seems slow. Lightning Greaves seems unnecessary. Gavony Township seems slow. Maybe Dryad Arbor. Do I want extra copies of Night Autumn? I don't think I really want Grizzly Bear in my deck. Grizzly Bear also turns off my swords, which seems less than ideal. I'm just going to run it like this. Yep. I mean, like, again, that game doesn't even go back to the fact that, like, they had 3 of their 8 lords. Like, that game, at its core, goes back to the fact that, like, my opponent had a single piece of interaction, and their single piece of interaction meant that I was then too slow to be able to race what they were doing. Feels like a slight breeze makes it so I don't get to actually win the game. I don't think Knight's better than Giver, because they're gonna have more interaction post board, more removals. So Giver protects from things like Dismember and from the 2-mana bouncer thing, of like Echoing Truth and stuff like that too. You're playing 5 leagues with this deck. Is it crazy if I felt like Stoneforge Mystic didn't do enough against the fair decks? I'd kind of believe that. At least against the Death Shadow fair decks. Like Batterskull, Stoneforge is probably fine against like Blue White and Jeskai and maybe Jund. But I definitely believe that it's too slow against Death Shadow. Hey, JMP. Thanks for doling out a pile of sub-gifties. Good morning. Hope your Monday is finding you swell. You passed the Florida bar. That's exciting. Congrats. Look at you, responsible adulting. Alright, I think I'm just getting Batterskull here. Or am I getting Sword? Do I get Batterskull or do I get Sword? If I'm playing this Noble Hierarch, I can put the Sword in, equip, and attack next turn. What buys more time? Do we think Sword or Batterskull buys? But Batterskull probably buys more time, huh? I'm gonna get Batterskull. That's close, though. Like, getting the Sword is pretty bad if they have another Lord. Like, if I was guaranteed for them to not have another Lord, I'd be pretty okay. Bant Nightfall's a deck I've been pretty unimpressed with in the past, too, to be fair, though. I also don't think this deck has a particularly bad Tron matchup, just because this deck Goldfish is a turn 3 kill pretty consistently. Yeah, I also don't think Knight of the Reliquary is a particularly playable Magic card. I think it's pretty slow and clunky on average. Stoneforge Mystic is a payoff for infinite mana. So Stoneforge Mystic fetches Viridian Longbow, and Viridian Longbow is lethal. Hey, look, a second piece of interaction. Alright, what am I doing here? I think I'm just casting Batterskull. We get like Force to negate it and cry. Alright, we have a 5/5 Vigilant Lifelinker. Are you asking, do I think Knights will be viable in Modern? Is that what you're asking? I would be incredibly surprised if Knights ever became a competitive archetype in Modern. Now, Historic is going to have some sick Knight decks in it. Super, super pumped to play Knights in Historic. You have a third Dismember. Gosh, that's brutal. All right, so I'm not going to cast another Giver here because if they play another Lord, I'm taking 8. I guess if they hit me for 8, it turns off this land that I can't equip anyways. Yeah, I'm just going to play another Giver. YOLO. Hey, Strakov, thanks for the brand new Prime Sport. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch right now. You're shipping that sport this way this month. Yeah, apologies in general. I'm currently plague ridden. I have 2 tiny children. All right, I get to lifelink for 6 here. Did I just miss lethal? No, I didn't, right? Because this was Exalted? Never mind. Sweet. All right. I saw them at 2, and I was like, oh god, did I just mess that up? And this is lethal, right? Because these all have Island Walk, so I can prevent this from being tapped, but I can't block their stuff. All right. The Devoted Druid archetype in general continues to be, like, the best deck that I can just, like, never seem to win a match with. Let's see if we can get on the scoreboard and get a 2-3 and get our $5 back or not. I'm gonna get to Standard a little bit early today. Maybe we'll play some M20 Standard at the very end today. So I have to play in the Twitch Rivals tournament tomorrow. It's a shame there's not a best of 3 queue. The Twitch Rivals thing is best of 3 at least. Yeah, it sucks that it isn't a real match. I played like 10 games last night just to get a feel for the deck list I threw together. Thanks for the 22 months, Cousin Vin. Yeah, it's standard without the 4 sets that are rotating. It's oh my god, people are so sick of standard and no one's playing arena. Let's think of something quick. So this is what we got. Next year will be much better because we'll get to play Brawl and we'll get to play Brawl and we'll get to play Historic next fall. If I attacked with everything, I'd still have been 1 point of damage short Ninja Killer because I wouldn't have gotten the Exalted trigger. They also had a Merfolk Trickster, would have been able to block one of my things, but even without that, I wouldn't have had lethal because I would have lost Exalted by attacking with 3 things. I don't even think they need to fix it, Johnny Boy. I think we just need to be able to play a format that's not standard on Arena is basically what it comes down to. Like, rather than trying to fix standard, like, naturally having low points, we just need to be able to have alternatives. Yeah, like, this is like the last week where things are slow, right? And I'm actually taking Monday of next week off. So I really hope they ban 3-mana Teferi as a commander in Brawl. That would be ideal. Yeah, I agree, Genesis. Super looking forward to having two more formats to play on Arena. Because, like, I like Modern right now, but, like, even when I like Modern, playing Magic Online is just, like, it's pretty tedious compared to Arena. Like, just the smoothness of, like, even with Arena moving closer to being a laggy mess, the elegance of the auto tapper is so huge. Why not use Stoneforge to get a hit in with Batterskull? Because I'm going to end step cast Eladamri's Call and kill them when I untap. I think Historic is going to see less support now that Reddit pressured to change. I have no idea. I hope that's not the case. So if they don't have a bolt here, they're dead. WotC rolled back the plans to make it cost 2-1 wild cards for Historic. So we get Devoted Druid here, or we get Vizier here, then the other Finale ends up being lethal. You can dance if you wanna. Listen, if we end up getting an incredibly well-supported Historic format with it costing fewer wildcards, that's a good thing overall. That's a net positive. My worry is that if Historic costs the same as Standard, they'll see that as supporting Historic as a danger to their Standard profit margins. Because, and this is just one dude's opinion who streams on the internet. If Historic and Standard cost the same amount of money, if Historic and Standard cost the same amount of money, and there's the same amount of support for both formats, no person in their right mind would choose to play Standard over Historic. Unless Historic is an exceptionally bad format where the play patterns are miserable. Like, play patterns are similar, support's identical, price is the same. Why would you buy into the format where your cards rotate every year? I can't think of a reason. Alright, Forge-Tender in, Sword of Fire and Ice out, Batterskull out, Tracker out. Teferi will be in Historic. I mean, 3-mana Teferi's in Standard still for a long time. I don't think that's a good point. Yeah, sure. Some people are going to play both. But anybody who's on a budget has no reason to play Standard if they're all supported the same. I mean, and think about this. There's a reason why this stream was 100% Modern for a long time, right? Like, the only reason I dipped back into Standard at all was because I wanted an excuse to play Arena, because Arena is just so much better software than Magic Online. Yeah. With Historic costing the same if it has the same amount of support, free-to-play players are very likely, except for people who are brand new, just getting started. Anybody who has any amount of collection and is free-to-playing is only going to play Historic if it has the same amount of support. Yes, yeah, I agree, Gengar. All the people that were comparing it to Wild are off base, because they don't understand that Wizards of the Coast has a history of, like, building non-rotating formats that people care about and get support for. I don't know. Maybe Historic's the next big thing, and Wizards knows that non-rotating formats are the most popular, and they're going to lean into it, and that'll be great. All I know is, in general, I prefer non-rotating formats. J-Bags, thank you for the very generous Tier 2 resub, and for the 9 months at that. Be sure to let me know what deck you'd like to bump up in the queue. You can also hold on to your bump until after some decks from the new set have gotten in there. Fat, with that brand new Prime support. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. I appreciate you shipping your Bezo bucks this way this month. I think Historic will get much paper support, though. I think Historic's going to get as much paper support as people want to give it. So, here's a history lesson for the kids at home that don't remember. So, Star City Games is the largest independent Magic circuit in the world, right? And Star City Games runs more Modern Opens than any other format. There was a time where Star City Games didn't run any Modern Opens, and they just ran Modern Classics next to the Legacy Opens on Sunday when they had 2 one-day Opens. If people are there to play it, it will get support. The reason why we now have more Modern Opens than anything else is because those Classics started outpacing the size of the Legacy Opens with half the price support. Because people were hungry for a non-rotating format that they could actually play without being priced out of by the reserve list. Oh yeah, if Arena ever got an official tournament client, there would be so much third-party tournament support, it would be awesome. Without an official tournament client, running third-party tournaments just kind of sucks, though. Unfortunately, it's the reality. That's why a lot of the tournaments you see for Arena are things like Twitch Rivals and Fandom and stuff like that, because running small player events is much easier than running events with lots of players without an in-client tournament thing. How do you bump a deck? You just let me know here which deck you'd like to bump up, and it'll get updated at the end of the stream today. You can also DM it to me or email me and just say, hey, this is for my tier 2 this month. My username is JBags. Hey, Rad, thanks for subscribing again. Thanks for taking advantage of that half off this month for September. Welcome back to Hoaglandia. Bump Jeskai Tempo. 10 out of 10. Sounds great. I'll get added today after I'm all done streaming. This is X's 10 or more. So, like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this deck. I feel like I still don't really care for it. I feel like playing through this league helped me articulate why I don't really care for this archetype. It feels like similar to how the other creature combo decks I've played in the past tend to struggle in the fair matchups. This archetype tends to struggle in the fair matchups even more than decks like Vanafear Chord and Kiki Chord and the various Saheeli decks that we've played do. I feel like the games where my opponent have one or God forbid even two pieces of removal, my deck kind of just like crumples up with a bunch of like kind of underpowered cards. That being said, this deck's ability to goldfish kills when it's not being interacted with is probably not surpassed by anything in Modern. So if the format you're expecting is especially linear, I think this is a great choice. But I feel like there's always enough people choosing to register Jund and Jeskai and Blue-White that this is not a deck that I really enjoy and would like to play. Hey, have a good first day, Paula. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to roll on into some standard here, I think. Before we head into standard, I am going to run to the bathroom and grab a snack. So I'm going to run a quick ad break, and we'll